The Arcane Vanguard mod is out for console, and it is a very broken spellcasting melee based class with a bunch of incredible subclasses too. So this is my Arcane Vanguard Eldritch Vanguard build guide for Baldur's Gate 3 levels 1 to 12 with a combat tutorial and a bunch of items to use. So of course we're starting with the Arcane Vanguard. Now for spells, I like a few options here. As you can see, the cantrip options you have are insane. But for this we are going to take my deadly trio, as I like to call them: Shocking Grasp, Firebolt, and Ray of Frost. Reason being is we have a melee based one, we have 2 ranged based ones, and 3 different damage types. For spells, we're going to take False Life because temporary hit points are always nice. We're going to take Thunderwave because this is a lifesaver for pushing enemies off of beams and balconies and all sorts and just ending fights early. And we're going to take Inflict Wounds because this is an incredible melee based spell that if you upcast it does incredibly insane damage. And for your fighting style, we're going to take Read the Enemy, so you are able to see and predict enemy blows, making it easier to dodge. While not wearing armor, add your dexterity and intelligence to your armor class. And as I said, this is our Eldritch Vanguard. Now Eldritch Vanguard gives you Exhaust the Incompetent. So once per turn, if you inflict a status effect, you also cause 2 turns of mental fatigue. If we just check out mental fatigue, that is a -1 penalty to Wisdom, Intelligence, and Charisma saving throws. And if it fails one, for 5 more turns of the condition, 1 to 4 psychic damage. And for spells here, we're going to take Tash's Hideous Laughter. So leave a creature prone with laughter without the ability to get up. Lasts for 10 turns. And we're going to take Dissonant Whispers because it is a really nice damage type and causes Frighten. And if we just check out what Frightened is, cannot move. For your ability points, you want something akin to this: 8 Strength, 16 Dexterity, 14 Constitution, 16 Intelligence, 10 Wisdom, and 10 Charisma. Intelligence being your spellcasting ability, Dex for your AC and finesse-based weapons, and Constitution, as this will help with your concentration saving throws. For your skill proficiencies, take whatever you feel like. And that brings us to Arcane Vanguard level 2. More spell slots obviously, but more importantly, Vanguard Stratagem. You use your intelligence modifier for your weapon attack and damage rolls. So it's kind of Eldritch Knight-ish, but it's just so OP. For a spell, we're going to take Command. So command a creature to flee, move closer, freeze, drop to the ground, or drop its weapons. And telling a creature to drop its weapons and then picking them up so it can use its fists is a very fun, gimmicky way to finish fights. And for a spell, we're going to take Bane. -1 penalty to attack rolls and saving throws. Now for a Vanguard talent, we are going to take Vanguard's Protection. You learn a technique that can protect you and your allies from damage for 5 turns. And that brings us to Arcane Vanguard level 3, and this time we have Constructed Argument. You get a bonus to your Persuasion check equal to your Intelligence modifier, which means if you want to be this as your TAV, you now have extra Charisma for free. And Maim the Weak. Your first attack on your turn has advantage against creatures with mental fatigue, which is what triggers when we cause a status effect. For a spell, we are going to take Mirror Image, a really nice way of boosting up your AC. Obviously, by now you probably know what Mirror Image does, but if you don't, you create 3 duplicates of yourself. Each one adds a +3 to your armor class. When you get attacked, you lose 1 duplicate, and you lose 3 from your armor class, until all 3 are reduced and you are back to your standard. And for a spell here, we're going to take one of my favourites in the game, and that is Hold Person. I think this is incredibly OP. Concentration-based spell, but once it lands, if you do a melee attack on someone that is held, it is a automatic critical hit, and if you upcast this to hold more people and you get that land, you will pump out incredible damage and just crit everywhere. Now Arcane Vanguard level 4, we have no new class features, but we do get a new spell, and for this one we are going to take Heat Metal. For a spell here, we're going to take Ray of Enfeeblement. So weaken a foe, they deal half damage with weapon attacks using strength. Really nice way of debuffing big, bulky characters. And for your feat, we are going to take the Air Sight and we're going to bump our intelligence up to 18. Level 5 brings us War Magic. You've owned your body and magic for war. After you cast a cantrip, you can make a weapon attack using a bonus action, which means you could do your Shocking Grasp and then swing with your sword. At this point, we're also going to take Counterspell, just to help us control the battlefield more. I think any wizard or spellcaster, unless it's a warlock or you have limited spells like a ranger, really benefits from using Counterspell. And for a spell here, we're going to take Phantasmal Force. Deal damage to a creature each turn. The type of damage changes to the last type the creature suffered. Arcane Vanguard level 6 brings us follow-up. You get a +3 bonus to attack rolls when attacking after casting a spell. Ties in very nicely to our level 5 class feature, meaning we can do a cantrip, then we can attack with our bonus action, and then we'll just get an extra 3 to our attack roll. For a spell here, we're going to take Bone Chill. I really like this. It also gives it disadvantage on attack rolls and prevents the target from healing on the next turn. So if you know that they have potions that they like to pop, you can do this. And for a spell here, we're going to take Branding Smite. Now this is really good against enemies that can turn invisible because you'll mark them and then they won't be able to. I'm thinking of enemies like Yergir and stuff that you'll usually meet around level 7. This is the perfect spell to deal with him. And for a spell here, we're going to take Vampiric Touch. Touch an enemy to siphon the life force and gain half as many hit points. For 10 turns, you can use Vampiric Touch again without expending an additional spell slot. Now ideally you want to save your concentrations for things like your hold person, but this can be really good for just healing up if you need to, if you run out of cleric spells, if you haven't short rested, long rested, all that stuff. Level 7 brings us Vanguard Technique, so after the Warden casts a spell or cantrip, they can make a weapon attack using a bonus action. It's the same as before pretty much. For a spell here we're going to take a Wall of Fire, again another concentration spell, however it's a really nice way of just blocking off part of the battlefield. And the enemy AI sometimes is really stupid and will just jump through the fire to get to you if you make a choke point. For a spell slot here, we're going to take Phantasmal Killer. Haunt a creature with its worst nightmares. It takes 4 to 40 psychic damage per turn, cannot move, has disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls. And for your talent, we are going to take the Arcanist Life Ether. Mark a target. When it ends its turn within 3 meters of your allies, they restore 4 to 7 hit points, meaning you can continuously heal up your allies as long as they're in melee with an enemy. Level 8 brings us another new feat, as well as a bunch of spells we can use here. For this one, we are going to take Dimension Door. Really nice way of just getting you and an ally around the battlefield. Really nice way of doing certain missions. I used Dimension Door loads during the mission to rescue Duke Ravengard, for example. And for a spell here, we're going to take Blight, level 4 Necromancy spell. Disadvantage on saving throws if done on a plant, but it is 8 to 64 damage regardless. And for an ability score improvement, again, intelligence up to 20. Level 9 brings us Bane the Feeble. When you hit a creature with a weapon attack, if they're suffering from mental fatigue, then you also inflict Bane, which is just a -4 to their attack rolls and stuff. For a spell here, we're going to take Hold Monster. It's Hold Person, but on steroids. It's amazing. And for a spell at this level, I know it's another concentration, but I really like Insect Plague. Really good if you have enemies that have high wisdom, so they're going to break your concentration or be able to be unheld, or if you just can't maintain concentration for any reason, like you've been swarmed. Insect Plague is a really nice area of effect that will just deal a boatload of damage. Arcane Vanguard level 10, Liberated Spellcasting. When you kill a creature, you can cast a level 1 spell without expending a spell slot. This feature may only be used once per short rest. So it's just a free spell slot essentially. You have a bunch of other spells here. There is really no wrong answer at this point. There's really good options, so kind of choose what you fancy. You could take the spell Good and Evil, you could take Greater Invisibility, Haste is always nice, Telekinesis is always really nice. In my opinion, I would probably take something like an Enhanced Ability, Expeditious Retreat, just to save some of those higher level spell slots. For a spell here, we're going to take Fear. Targets drop everything and become fearful. They have disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls. Level 11 brings us Tactical Strikes. Once per turn when you attack with a weapon, you add your intelligence modifier to the damage, free buff to our damage essentially. For a spell here we're going to take Globe of Invulnerability, a really nice level 6 spell that can be a real tide turner in a game. If you throw this up and you have your melee people on the edges so the enemies can't run in, and have archers or spellcasters in the back, you can just rain death down on enemies. And for a spell here, we're going to take Slows. Target up to 6 creatures and slow them. Movement and actions are affected, and their AC and Dex saves are reduced by 2. And finally, Arcane Vanguard level 12. No class features, but we do get a new feat. Before that, we have more spells to choose from, and personally, again, anything will really do. I'm going to take Magic Weapon at this point. And for a spell, Harm is really nice. Take this if you want to be able to use your higher level spell slots. If you don't, you want to take something smaller, then Confusion's nice, Banishment is nice, you could even do Enthrall, but I do think Harm is probably worth it. And at this point there are so many good options you could take here. If you wanted to not use a sword and wanted to use staffs, you could take Dual Wielder. You could take Alert to get a +5 bonus to your AC, You could take the ability score improvement to either your con or your dex. For me personally, I think it's kind of worth going more to resilient constitution, just to get the proficiency with constitution and therefore your concentration. But it's going to be depending on your playstyle. If you don't really use many of your passives, or not passives, sorry, many of your like binding spells like a whole person, you might just want to bump up your dex, get more AC, attack more. You might want to put the plus 2 into your constitution to get more hit points. All that sort of stuff there. Okay, so if we go over our items, for our headband we're using the Diadem of Arcane Synergy. So when you inflict a condition, gain Arcane Synergy for 2 turns. Or sorry, 2 rounds. For a cloak, we're using the Cloak of the Weave. So you gain a +1 bonus to spell save DC and spell attack rolls, as well as absorb elements. For boots, probably my favourite pair of boots in the entire game, the Disintegrating Nightwalkers. You can't be enwebbed, entangled or ensnared, and you can't slip on ice or grease, as well as a use of Misty Step. Now, to benefit from the added AC from our intelligence and from our dex, we're going to be using clothing, not armour, and therefore the Graceful Cloth. You gain Cat's Grace and increase your dexterity by 2, and a +1 bonus to dexterity saving throws, as well as increased jump distance. And all this pairs very nicely with the Braces of Defense. You gain a +2 bonus to armor class as long as you're not wearing armor or holding a shield. For rings, we're using the Shifting Corpus Ring to give us invisibility and blur. Really nice abilities to, obviously outside of combat, invisibility is amazing. But even inside combat, this can be a good way of, if you are in danger, just pulling yourself out because you do only have 87 hit points. The Crypt Lord Ring, just free use of Crown Dead, so you can get some minions if you want to. You could happily switch this out for other things that boost like your cantrip damage or something. I just like minions. And the Spellcrux Amulet to get a free spell slot restoration. For a sword, we're using the Kerwin's Cauterizer, text-based scimitar, so it's finesse, and therefore 13 to 21 damage, plus the 1d4 fire damage. And on a hit, the target starts burning unless it succeeds a Constitution saving throw. And for a bow, we're going to be using the Death Shot, reduces our number to crit to a 19, as well as giving us a keen attack, which doubles our proficiency bonus when rolling ranged attacks with this weapon. So that is our build. Let's go show it off in combat. Okay, we're in combat, and you can see we are actually tied with the Rogue for initiative. So if we jump over to our Eldritch Vanguard. Now remember, we have loads of benefits we can do. So, Vanguard's protection, we can reduce all of the damage we take for 5 turns. We have, God, where is it? The one where we can mark a target, which I don't see at the moment. Here we go, Anarchized Life Ether. Now it is a spell, so we wouldn't benefit from being able to attack this turn, but we're just going to do it, just to show it off. And I think we'll mark, in fact we'll wait until this enemy gets here first. So for now, we're going to come up here, and we're just going to show off some of our features. So let's do a Shocking Grasp to start with. And there you go, and we have gained Arcane Synergy, and thanks to that, as a bonus action, we can now strike. Just like that, and you'll see we did 19 damage with our blade. Really, really good. And there you go, see they missed their attack against us. Okay, so let's mark the Barbarian. So if I was to come in here, we do the Life Ether. And there you go, and now we'll heal up because they're in melee range. Now, because we've done that, we do actually still benefit from being able to do a attack with our blade. So again, we'll just target the same one. And there you go, a massive 26 damage, and they've got 2 turns of burning. This is a really good build that lets you throw around these spells, these class abilities, and still swing with your sword. Now see the enemy took 2 turns of burning there. But again, that's not the only abilities we have. So for example, let's come in here with a hold person. We're going to target 4 people at level 5, and we will hold Skeeve, we'll hold the Barbarian, we'll hold Threz, we'll hold the Burning one. And there you go, you see we have landed it on all of them. And because we have that bonus action, we can come in here and land a huge crit. And as you can see, they're all held. The only one that isn't is the one there. And this works for every character. So if we use Jaheira, Again, another crit with our melee attack. Now you see we gain some hit points from being so close to him thanks to the Anarchist Life Ether. And that's not even showing off all the other spells we have. We have lots of other spells that allow us to do things. For example, Distant Whispers. If we were to throw that down here, onto this one. Now unfortunately I did save, but we just have so many good mental spells that can do loads of damage as well as trick enemies, but we still have the ability after we do that to come in here and start swinging for the fences and take enemies that are held out. And you see, once again, Jaheira healed up thanks to being so close. And we still have things we can do, like Insect Plague. As I was saying, if you get swarmed, let's just pretend we are. We can throw an Insect Plague down here. Now you see it will break concentration. That's fine, I know it's going to do it. Just be careful of your concentration spells. And there you go, now we have a difficult terrain area for this enemy to walk through. And because we did the spell, we can do an attack. And let's say we want to do our bow attack instead this time because we're hanging out the back. 21 damage with the bow. You see the enemy moves his way out of the Insect Plague, which is often what you'll find enemies do. They will move as much as they can to get away from the damage being dealt. And again, that's before we've even done things like Wall of Fire, so you could throw this down if you wanted to. Again, it will break concentration, we know that, that's okay. But we could just put a Wall of Fire here. And there you go, see 13 damage because they landed it, and now they will have to move either into it or away from it. But because we did that, obviously we can move up, and we can do our bow attack. Just like that. And if you really just want to go a little bit crazy, for example, as I was saying during the tutorial, Inflict Wounds, let's upcast it to 6th level. You're not going to want to do this, obviously, because there are better 6th level spells. But let's say you do. 79 damage, which is just phenomenal. So that is the Arcane Vanguard, and more specifically the Eldritch Vanguard build guide for Baldur's Gate 3. Probably one of the most broken classes and subclasses in the entire mod section of the game. If you have enjoyed, please let me know in the comments below. Let me know what else you do differently, what the spells, items, all that fun stuff. If you aren't ready, please drop the video a like, helps me amazingly, and subscribe to the channel for more, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.